Hey guys, and welcome back to another Off the Cuff at Generation Y. So, I was reading in the comments of a video today, an Australian fella said, and I'm going to have to be careful with what I use, with the words I use in this, but it's to do with attraction to very young people. But let's just use the term evil people. So, I saw this comment, and the guy said that essentially the attraction to young people had been decriminalised in Australia, and that they had essentially been going backwards. Instead of trying to make it more difficult and the punishments more severe and trying to find ways of dealing with it, that they were going in the other direction. And the reason that I brought this up and why I was interested in this whole thing is because I said to a couple of my friends yesterday, they're not like really political or anything, they're basically moderate centristy people. I just said that it kind of feels like our kids are under some form of attack. I know for a fact that at my son's school, the things that they teach them and how often they teach them, 7 classes on how good it is to be trans, is just crazy. And I saw a doctor doing a TED talk the other day talking about how removing children's testes to make them a girl isn't actually bad, because we will have already put them on so much medication that those testes really haven't developed anyway. It's no different to taking out a duff appendix. Yeah, because you've made them duff. So anyway, I was just talking to them about how it certainly seems like our kids are under attack, but then some people were like, well, yeah, because then it will leave less of a carbon footprint. Not that they were justifying it, but that was kind of their idea. But then I was saying, but then we're having immigrants coming in, and again, like I say, I'm not just blanket anti-immigrant. I'm certainly not blanket anti-immigrant, but I'm not like blanket increasing the population by use of bringing people in from the outside. But my point is that if they're doing that at the same time, then they can't be anti-children just because they have such a worry about, carbon footprints and all this sort of stuff. So anyway, I had a look on Google and I couldn't find anything. And then I remembered that Google is a liar and doesn't give you it doctors search results. I've done the experiment several times where you look for something that is being protected, and these things are being protected, especially at the moment because of the bill down in Florida, which the left are calling "Don't Say Gay," but it's actually nothing to do with that, and that's just I believe that phrase was invented by a 14-year-old, and it just caught on because it's a way of them, trying to fight against a bill that is essentially saying teachers cannot keep secrets from parents of children between the ages of 4 and 10, and they cannot talk to them in a classroom setting about sexual things, up to the age of 9 or 10. So anyway, yeah, I tried the old experiment of using Google and using a different search engine, and this is what I found. So if we go onto DuckDuckGo and we look this up, searchy, so score victory in Australia as lawmakers vote, whatever. Australia fears of cheese pizza shutdown. Australia 1800. So we've got one already at the top that's talking about what we want to find out. Okay, and then we will try the same thing on Google. Australia. Boom. Okay, so no. We'll have a look on another page. No. Reclassify, so page 2. That's Canada though, so that's not Australia. Stop. Okay, what is the world coming to? No. So there's clearly a difference. So if you said to somebody, I just heard this, and they were like, let me Google that rather than let me search that, and they went onto Google, they would say like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. So I get it. If you want to be fair, you can say, well, there is nothing at least in this article, about decriminalizing younger person attraction. But I feel like it's strange that the freer search engine, albeit not perfect, at least gives you something, remotely to do with what you're trying to find. Okay, so Evil people score victory in Australia as lawmakers vote down name and shame bill. And this was about 6 months into COVID. Evil people will be allowed to keep their identities secret in Australia after lawmakers voted against a bill to name and shame. And it wasn't really name and shame, it was just a registry. Australian politicians chose to vote against a law calling for a public evil people offenders register in Australia that would help families identify local evil people. Victims and supporters of the bill are now warning the scheme is in danger of withering on the vine. The plan was announced by Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton in January 2019, just before the 2019 election in May. Dutton pledged that the federal government was putting $7.8 million towards a public register of convicted offenders. Under the policy, the names, aliases, photos, and nature of their crimes would be made publicly accessible, as would their general location. Not their address, their general location. But the register still hasn't become reality almost 18 months on. Queensland's Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk's government recently voted down a motion supporting such a register, in a move Mr. Dutton's spokeswoman slammed as very frustrating. Meanwhile, child protection advocates Bruce and Denise Morecambe, the parents of Australia's most famous abducted boy, Daniel, have demanded to know what's going on. The family is understood to be privately frustrated. Labour MP Scott Stewart, rubbished the idea, telling Parliament the Australian Institute of Criminology had found that public evil people registers do not reduce recidivism. That's sex offenders, that's not evil people in specific. Child evil people. So, yeah, somewhat telling. As with everything, there is complexities and nuances, but I do think it's somewhat telling and a little bit disturbing. And I also think it just shows that people need to use, I'm sure you guys probably don't just use Google, but it's just a reminder that people do, if you are checking up on something that somebody says that you think could be a bit controversial, or maybe they've misunderstood something, that you use different search engines, not just Google, because Google gives you what they will allow you to see, and it changes depending on the political climate at the time. But yeah, so it's also kind of worrying to see, and I think I'm going to be doing quite a lot of looking into, attacks on children by the political establishments, by the media, by academia. Not believe it or not, it's a fact. I've seen it with my kids. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you think of that. Does it shock you? Do you agree that kids seem to be under attack from these ideologies, from the sort of woke ideology? Yeah, let me know. And hopefully I will speak to you again soon.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish